You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, we're going to talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. But in this case, we're going to talk about a guy by the name of Carron J Phillips. You may recognize that name. That is the woke moron over at Deadspin that accused a 9-year-old boy, a Chiefs fan, that was wearing a headdress with a black and red face paint situation going on from a Raiders game that was against the Chiefs in Vegas, accused him of blackface and of being a racist. By the way, that went on for about a month. The family had to threaten litigation, and then Deadspin swooped in and did a stealth edit on the article. But now he's back at it again. And this time he's got his crosshairs, his race-baiting crosshairs, on the owner of the Raiders, Mark Davis. Now, it is not lost on me that this guy probably knows that Mark Davis and John Gruden are pretty tight. All right? So, and we know that the wokes believe John Gruden is a super-duper homophobic, transphobic, racist. What else can we put out there that they've tried to hang John Gruden with? Who knows and who cares? I can't wait till John Gruden burns down the NFL. But he is going out there, he is saying that Mark Davis is disrespecting Antonio Pierce. And I guess he didn't want to put racist in the headline after what happened with the Chiefs fan, but don't worry, he puts it in the article instead. So let's take a look at this. Now, for the record, before we even get into this, do I believe that Antonio Pierce probably ultimately gets that job and deserves it as the Raiders head coach? Yeah, I do. I think he probably deserves it. But at the same time, Mark Davis is an owner of his football team, and he should be able to ultimately hire whoever he wants. I mean, frankly, whether he could hire Barney the dinosaur. Now, Barney wouldn't be qualified, but it's his team. And he should be allowed to hire whoever he wants. And also, let's be honest, if Jim Harbaugh comes along, what are you going to say? You going to call Mark Davis a racist then, even though, let's be real, as much as I like Antonio Pierce, that resume doesn't even come close. And we know it. Everybody would know it. So here we go. This wouldn't happen to Kellen Moore or Ben Johnson or Mike McDonald. I hope it wouldn't happen to Kellen Moore because I don't think he's head coaching material, but okay. But for, quote, some odd reason, in quotes on purpose, of course, Antonio Pierce has to deal with it. Deal with what? That's the question. When the Raiders went into Arrowhead Stadium on Monday and upset the Kansas City Chiefs 20-14, it wasn't just more proof of the absences of Eric Bieniemy and Tyreek Hill have changed the way we look at the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill, maybe. Eric Bieniemy, nah. It also served as the latest example of why the interim tag shouldn't be attached to Pierce's name. Well, there is an interview process to go through, but okay. Quote, hell of a job by those guys, our staff, defensive coordinator Patrick Graham, who, by the way, will also get an interview for this job. It's tough, Pierce said, as he got emotional after the game. This is what we wanted. We said enough is enough. It is going to take all 60 minutes, and it did. Hell of a job by our offense to finish it. That's what Antonio Pierce said. I like the guy a lot. And obviously this Raiders team and these players are responding to this guy. Former hard-nosed linebacker for the Giants and Redskins, Mr. Phillips. Yeah, I said Redskins. And obviously the players respect and play for him hard. But here we go. He goes on to talk about the Lamar Jackson situation on Christmas and Mike Florio, which is ridiculous. Florio should have never bent the knee to that drama. I would have just said, yeah, I said it, and I don't give a shit. However, the real disrespect of the last few weeks has come from Raiders owner Mark Davis, as he's yet to announce Pierce as Las Vegas' permanent head coach. It's because the interview process isn't completed, but okay. And there's also 2 games left. Ever since Pierce took over when Josh McDaniels was fired, the Raiders have gone 4-3, beat the Chargers and the Chiefs, and are 7-8 and aren't completely out of the playoff picture. Monday's win also put the Raiders first over Kansas City since 2020, only the second time in beating Patrick Mahomes. However, the real reason Davis's inaction is so disrespectful to Pierce is because it's far too often another example of how racism works in the NFL, especially when it comes to black coaches. History and owners haven't been kind to black men who wear the interim tag. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't the NFL created an unimaginable amount of generational wealth among black men? Isn't that a thing? I mean, that's a thing in the NFL. That's a racist league. Between 2010 and last fall, there have been 14 times when a white coach served under the interim tag. In that same time frame, there was never a time in which a black interim coach was replaced by another black coach. Leslie Frazier, 2010, and Romeo Crennel, 2011. What does that mean? Who cares? Are some of the few exceptions in league history in which a black interim coach has been promoted. It's as if Mark Davis doesn't want to learn from David Tepper's mistake. Quote, I had a talk with Steve Wilks. No promises were made, but if he does an incredible job, he has to be in consideration, Panthers owner Dave Tepper said last October when Wilks was announced as Carolina's interim coach. Tepper chose Frank Wright over keeping Wilks, a decision that went against what the players wanted. Tepper fired Wright 1-10 last month. The Panthers are atrocious, and Wilks has been vindicated as he serves as a 49ers defensive coordinator. Oh, well, luckily I'm a Niners fan, Mr. Phillips, and I will let you know that it's just been about 2 months ago where Wilks made an atrocious play call. I believe it was on Monday Night Football. And I wouldn't exactly call Steve Wilks vindicated because Kyle Shanahan almost fired him over it. So I would be careful with that. The book is still very much out on exactly how successful Steve Wilks is going to ultimately be with the 49ers. So probably a poor example. Not only that, but, I mean, wasn't Wilks 6-10? 6-11, maybe? 6-11. So, I mean, he didn't just completely win out and finish with a winning record. In 2021, the NFL made changes to the Rooney Rule, making it so teams have to interview at least 2 external minority candidates for head coaching positions and at least 1 external minority candidate for a coordinator job. So while Davis can't, quote, technically lift the tag off of Pierce, he still can. He's proven that he does what he wants. And here we go, citing some John Gruden. From PFT in a 2018 report, Raiders owner Mark Davis confirmed what had been widely suspected. He got John Gruden to agree to become the next head coach of the Raiders first, then fired Jack Del Rio. Jack Del Rio is white, I believe. Then conducted the required Rooney Rule interviews. After his press conference yesterday, Davis spoke to a group of Oakland reporters and acknowledged that he first felt like Gruden was serious about returning to the Raiders more than 2 months ago, when they met in Florida in late October or early November, according to Tim Kamakami of The Athletic. With games left against the Colts and the Broncos, 2 teams who are also still fighting to make the postseason, the Raiders could make things interesting if they win out. But even if they don't, Antonio Pierce has already shown why he should be the next full-time black head coach. No, let me correct you. Full-time head coach in the NFL. I thought the whole point was to quit using things that connect race to everything. Oh, but not on Deadspin. As we've been forced to watch again the hurdles that black coaches have to deal with. My God. This is utterly insane. It goes on to talk about how much Max Crosby loves Antonio Pierce. Yeah, the whole team loves him. They do. They've responded to him. He's been a breath of fresh air, and I do think he ultimately gets the job. But he's going to get the job because he took the job and performed up to expectations that would probably lead Mark Davis to give him the job on performance, not race. This is crazy. You just come out and basically said Mark Davis is a racist because he hasn't already made a decision when his hiring process isn't done. And far as the Gruden thing, there's a lot of owners that already have a pretty good idea and keep a list of coaches in mind that they would want to think about hiring if they get the chance. I mean, it's crazy. You may have an out-of-this-world candidate out of nowhere reach out to Mark Davis and say, I'm interested in this job. Mark Davis is not supposed to interview that person because that would be, or should be, ownership malpractice. But at the same time, he is the owner and can do what he wants to do. So once again, we see in the case of Carron J Phillips, there's no thinking involved when you write an article. It's all about race baiting and accusing people just blindly and willy-nilly of being actual racist. It's pathetic. And it's exactly why nobody takes the media seriously anymore. At all. I mean, the damage you did with that article involving that Chiefs fan, and then you come back and do this. I mean, if this is all you got far as actual talent goes, maybe you should try something else for a living. I don't know. Mop the floors at a peep show, for crying out loud, Mr. Phillips. This is lazy. It's lazy. Antonio Pierce is black. Again, I think he'll probably get the job, and I think he should. But it's absolutely based on performance, or it will be, because the players have responded to him. And his defense is playing at a near championship level. It doesn't have a damn thing to do with his skin color. And Antonio Pierce should be offended by what Phillips said in this article. I have a funny suspicion Antonio Pierce doesn't want to be handed anything. That is one hardcore SOB, and you can tell his work ethic, serious business. Tell me what you think, black and white sports supporters. Deadspin sucks as always. Peace 'em out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.